Cars, EDM, pretty lights. The Forza Horizon series has built an identity out of being a party on wheels. The most recent installment drops us into the rolling hills and dense city streets of mainland Japan. Long, flowy drift lines, highways built to test top speed, close course time attacks, it's got a chance to go down as the best map of the series. But it also demonstrates something I've been thinking about lately with Horizon. It's not a racing game, it's a spirited driving game. Let me preface this by saying it's not a dig at Forza Horizon 6 or any of the others in the series. I've sunk hundreds of hours into these games over the years, and this all comes from a place of love. Races are still a core part of the game, but I feel like just calling it a racing game also undersells it. What we've gotten access to is a kind of car sim that is wholly unique, and we're taking the long route there, so bear with me. Welcome to the Horizon Initiative. The racing genre is one of the longest running in the industry. Lineages like Gran Turismo, Grid, the F1 games, there's no shortage of realistic sims that'll deliver an awesome racing career experience for you. But there's also something inherently heavy about those titles. You've got to set up your race plans, test it in qualifying and actually qualify, adapt your plans and make tune adjustments, and then you get to start slugging it out with other drivers on the track. I'd put proper racing sims on the same level of time sink that Elite Dangerous inhabits. It isn't quite disrespectful of your time, but it does ask for a lot of it to make progress. The immediate response to this would obviously be then get a more arcade-centric racing game, so I'd turn to things like Need for Speed, another long-running series that has seen better days. The games are fun, but the lack of a realistic driving model occasionally feels pretty immersion-breaking. Then, back in 2014, a buddy told me about Forza Horizon. The second one was just about to release, and I've always been a sucker for an open world game, so I figured I should give it a whirl and see what the fuss was about. Plenty of games had put you behind the wheel in a mostly open world by this point. It's what made us all remember the original NFS Most Wanted. Horizon wanted to set itself apart though, as up until now, most open world racing games were squarely in the arcade category. The first Horizon had yet to pick up very many habits from its older sibling, Forza Motorsport, but it did breathe some fresh air into the middle ground between arcade and simulator. Cars were heavier than we were used to, and you couldn't just willy-nilly throw yourself around corners. You needed to think about lateral Gs and set and turn angle. The racing lines mattered. Colorado was also an awesome location to use. Exciting mountain roads and flats where you could muster up some speed, but the series has grown a lot since 2012 when it was originally pitched as a Project Gotham reboot to old Papa Microsoft. Over the last 4 games since then, we've driven through France, Australia, England, and Mexico, but we've finally landed in the Pacific. Every Horizon has had some festival elements that give players a place to test cars, hang out, do it a little impromptu hooning, but man did 6 step it up. The drag strips are central hubs of activity, the festival site always has something to snap pictures of, and everywhere you go, the roads are glorious. This may be the most fun I've had just driving from point A to point B. The new driving model feels fantastic on a controller, and while I do have a Logitech wheel setup that serves excellent when I want to feel like I had a proper track day, there's something refreshing about being able to sit down on the couch and use a standard gamepad without the car just feeling like a toy. Now that we've caught up with the timeline a little, let's steer back to that original comment. Forza Horizon 6 is a driving game, not a racing game. Throughout your run in any Horizon title, you do a pretty big mix of stuff. Racing on every surface imaginable, speed zones to test your mettle, drift challenges for style, and plenty of reasons to drive in between. Sometimes it's a story bit where your driver hits the road with other competitors for a day trip, or it's a showcase driving a Corvette alongside a royalty-free mobile suit at breakneck speeds. As we settle into the new normal in the series with FH6, I find myself more excited for the treasure hunts each week than seasonal championships though. Reasons to explore and mess around rather than push out the perfect build to chase down a win are why I find myself so fucking hooked on this game. For quite some time, races were always the best way to make money. Between the winner's pot and the amount of experience leading to a lot of wheel spins, you just couldn't garner up the same amount of scratch anywhere else. And you are always wanting another car if you're at the Horizon Festival, so you've got to keep the dosh flowing. As you can imagine, I was pleasantly surprised when they had a delivery service our little driver could join in exchange for some income near your starting garage in Tokyo. The weekly treasure hunts drop you a healthy $100,000, and each challenge and level up bring a payout or wheel spin from the journal, so the money's always coming in. Even doing story missions feels useful this time. Yuji's Auto definitely gets you behind the wheel of some awesome cars, building a lineup of showcase vehicles for a parade. And while a bit grindy, the delivery career does pay out a fair bit in the early game, and the K-Truck performance builds are fun as hell. After the purple wristband event, I kinda put the main festival races on hold. I'd knock out the weekly challenge, do a few story missions, whatever the daily was, and that was about it. Sprinkle in some barn finds and leaving the duplicates in my garage for some new players to find, and you've got a great way to burn an hour or absolutely destroy your sleep schedule depending on how responsible one is feeling. So, you've made a healthy living off your festival racing debut, found your vehicular love in a mostly stock sport coupe, and become a prolific fulfillment driver. With a full tank and deep pockets, you strike off into the country to properly explore the giant map that hosts this generation of Horizon players. Every game in the series has had barn finds, but this one just feels better to hunt for them in. The areas aren't as expansive as earlier entries, but the road design being so cohesive just makes exploration more satisfying. Pick something that's fun, speed isn't a requirement here, and find a road that cuts through your search zone. Peek down side roads, look for overgrown driveways, all-wheel drive and a little bit of clearance may be of use here, to hopefully find a classic that tickles your fancy. Just like in Horizon 5, you can also pay it forward, leaving cars for other players to get their grubby little paws on. And with wheel spin duplicates being pretty common, most of us do have something to drop for the new drivers. On the other side of barn finds, you've also got the treasure list built by May. These are less finding unloved classics and more going Nicolas Cage on some dude's daily driver. But damn, they're like all pretty steezy. And lastly, in the mix of motor vehicles to find out in the world, you've got the aftermarket cars. These cars are sold by local drivers that have some upgrades and a tune pre-installed. Maybe it's a retiree's track toy that he just doesn't have room for, or a drift build RSX that's been gathering dust. They're not the best in class, but they all do something well and make some great additions to any garage. On the topic of garages, you've got a lot of customization options this time around, and the garage is hardly the highlight. You can build your perfect little pit for crafting the car of your dreams, and that's great. The community's already pumping out awesome templates to download too if you do want to skip the whole building part. But up north, there's a little house that you can purchase pretty early in the game, and it opens up a whole new chunk of Forza Horizon. The estate. It's a blank canvas that can be turned into your own little Horizon. Parking garages, tracks, build a NASCAR oval, there's enough placeable assets right now to make a pretty awesome auto park for testing and tuning, and I sincerely hope they keep expanding this system. All you have to do is enable Snap and you're able to build drift courses or short tracks, stitch it all together with some roads and a few pit areas out of the way for, changing up tunes or loading different cars in, and you're all set to invite the boys and have yourself a proper day at the track. We've always been able to customize our drivers, but this entry definitely tops the rest in the ability of the players to customize the rest of the game to their taste. Outside of driving and building, you also have one of the most robust photo modes I've ever seen. Snapping pics at the festival site to fill your collection up is satisfying as hell, and going into drone mode at the various drift spots and time attacks can make for some awesome moments on camera. And as someone who likes snagging pictures of those little feathered government drones when out and about, that makes me all fuzzy inside. Now, per usual, in a long-form video, blabbing, and occasionally fanboying over a now prestigious racing series, I've got to point out some problems. Namely, the grind. Horizon games always hit you with a pretty big stack of races that take some time to work through. And this one's no different. The races themselves definitely aren't the problem here, though. I happily played through them all and replayed the ones I didn't win on the first pass. But once those were all done, I had thousands of festival points to go before the final events were ever going to be unlocked. And, I'd get access to Legend Island. And the majority of those have to be earned 50 points at a time from things like Speed Zone and Danger Sign areas. As someone who had an absolute field day hunting for treasure cars, the first few sittings spent hunting down what festival things remain were great, but it does become a little bit of a slog. I may also feel differently were Legend Island, more. The time trial circuit there is perfect for testing extremely high-powered vehicles like hypercars and whatnot, but there's basically a couple highway-style loops and a single dirt run on the far side of this little islet, and that's it. It feels like a little concept map when you put it next to the actual main body of the game. On top of the grindy bits, the AI can be savage when it decides it wants to be. Taking turns with impossible levels of grip is just one of their many abilities to balance out against players' superior driving abilities. But while it's annoying on occasion, it's hardly game-breaking. Which is kinda how I feel about most of the problems in this entry on the Horizon lineup. They're not non-existent by any means, but they're almost always easy enough to get past and just enjoy the game. All issues aside though, most races are still fun. Setting bots to above average for rally and dirt stuff and highly skilled on the road results in fair-feeling races of cars fielding similar performance to yourself, and the payouts and satisfaction of slow-mo crossing the line do keep me coming back to see if I podium. Although there is a skill ceiling at which point you might find the festival playlist against actual players is more your speed, as they don't get the benefit of the AI when playing it above highly skilled. This was never about saying Horizon doesn't do racing well. They've been refining their formula for years now, and the Goliath is an absolute banger of a close to the road racing series in 6. There is a point though where you found your favorite car, got the house you want, filled up your garage, and you just want to go do some ripping. And that is where the game absolutely shines, as a driving sim, not a racing sim. So go to a car meet, mess with the tune in your drag car, honk at someone and see what happens, because it may kick off a good session. If you just want to drive, there are enough options that no matter how you drive, there's a spot for you at Horizon this year. Thanks for cruising with us till the end. If you enjoyed what you saw, like and subscribe, or check out our Spotify and other streaming platforms for more of our music. Now warm up your tires, get a little oversteer, and go find your ride in Japan. See you next time on the Horizon Initiative.